If you were diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, here's my best advice to you. Number one, give yourself some grace. Understand the trauma you've been through and the way you opened yourself up for people that were not okay to be in your life, were not good for you, were not there for you, who did not love you. It was not your fault, you know? So, number one, right there is grace. And I'd say 1.5 or 2, but I put them on the same thing is you have to look at your caregivers, right? So you can't give yourself grace if you're still in a state of delusion and longing for certain people. I would guess they're your caregivers to change or win them over in some way. Once you accept they are who they are and what happened to you in your early days was not your fault, you know, that's number one. So I would say you can't really give yourself grace and begin to heal until you accept these people for who they are. And that might be the hardest thing you'll ever do. I would imagine it's going to be. And to the extent that you're ready, this video might be coming off way too soon and way too heavy. But if this video doesn't, if this video isn't a catalyst or a reason to change, which I'm guessing it won't be because that's not how the human mind works, a it'll be a looking back video where after you've done the work, you can look back at this video and now that you've done the healing, you can give yourself grace, right? Because everyone moves at their own speed and everyone's in a different place on their healing. So, we're talking about borderline personality. It's the roughest thing ever. And I do agree with the diagnosis and the I guess it was 87%. You can remission or cure up to 87% of your symptoms, and I do agree with that. I think it's really linked so much to personality that that it might be impossible. I think that's why they don't say 100% because that would essentially mean it's cured. But you know that's livable. You can live with it if you just create an environment where number one you're safe. That's first and foremost, but then just being able to take care of yourself, eat right, sleep good, all the things that you need to do to, self-care is number one, before anyone else, you have to care about yourself. And so that was number one, is just giving yourself grace. I guess I kind of rambled into essentially what number two is. It's just, yeah, self-care. And that's going to help stabilize the emotions and trying to create routine. That's huge. I think it's really easy with BPD to just like live the chaos lifestyle. I mean, that's what it's not just BPD, but a lot of different personality disorders. A lot of people that have had I kind of put CPTSD as an umbrella over everything. Everyone with everyone with CPTSD isn't borderline, and but every borderline is CPTSD. I would argue that, and I don't even know if I would argue that. I would just say that um, a lot of the time, that's not all the time, but so having said that, CPTSD is like more of a idea of a chaotic childhood. That's kind of the way I look at it, and that it's very normal, like a lot of things, to and it familiar is the word. That's the big word, familiarity. So the familiar is all often where comfort lies. So complete chaos as a kid, right? Like there's plenty of people like that. Like that's and it can be familiar and comfortable slash comfortable to live in that lifestyle of chaos and substance abuse, so all that crap. But it's not sustainable, and it passes the buck down. And again, there's no time frame. It's never too late to do the healing, and you know it takes rock bottom often, a huge life event, something that might be more traumatic than anything you experienced in childhood that actually will, you know, I would say a relationship. If you grew up with that shit, there's probably some kind of toxic, unbalanced trauma bond that you may have experienced that led to, a breakup and a complete fracturing of identity and certain ways of coping that were previously working. So, um, yeah, that's I guess number three is to, be okay with the quiet, be okay with the unchaotic, and that kind of goes in part with the substances. I think it's a lot easier to, you know, it's a lot easier to heal when you're not I mean, that's both like like literal and metaphorically true, that it's easier to heal when you're not being wounded, right? Your wounds will heal easier if you're not being wounded. So with that end, to be, in your, calm, safe environment, even if it means being alone because you can't trust um, people, you feel you can't trust people, and to the degree that, you were whatever codependent, unhealed codependent, you're basically open yourself up for predators, and until you can forgive yourself, heal, and see people for who they are, it's gonna be pretty hard to heal, truly heal, and yeah, sometimes it has to be done in solitude. Um, so I guess that's four. So we got number one, is giving yourself grace. Number two, self care. Number three, I guess getting out of the chaotic atmosphere and healing in solitude if necessary. So that's three. And number four, looking into lifestyle, rebuilding. Yeah, rebuilding, and it could be being a therapist yourself, looking into, those often make the best therapists are people that have lived life and can identify patterns and all that in a deep level that isn't just reading out of a book. I mean, that's one of those things that's so personal and so, again, and also I would say therapy can be very dangerous. You don't want to open up wounds that, I mean, that's what all uh, conflict, I would argue, when people are are conflicting with somebody that doesn't want to go there. Like an example about anything, like being to like a narcissist, you tell them they're wrong, that's triggering, and that's someone who isn't ready to do the work. And so to some degree, all of life is just us trying to get needs met, and it's not safe to open someone's eyes if they can't trust you. If you open someone's eyes and you do that wrong, it leaves someone with nothing, no ground to stand on, and that can be dangerous for them, and you, because that's how therapy has to be, a two-way street, and trust has to be both ways, and it can't be rushed. So, having said that, yeah, going all the way back, I guess we're on 4, was doing meaningful things that are fulfilling, that, and I brought up therapy, but that's going full circle again. That's like 4 different points from that. But yeah, therapy can be a blessing, and you can be a blessing for becoming one, knowing what you know. So again, this is BPD, 5 ways to get through it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll do number 5, which is again, I guess it comes back to grace. So it'll go full circle here. Number 1 was grace. Give yourself grace. And identifying, I look at it more as like on the front end, as far as identifying who raised you, what was going on with you, and not being so hard on yourself on the front end. And number 5 is going to be grace, the same way, but more of because I believe that there is only remission with BPD, and it is going to be a lifelong thing, and there's going to be things that happen, and the abandonment, and all this, like the flow of emotions, and every, if not every day being a different day, every hour, like those moments where you feel like you're backsliding, just know that that is part of the condition. That is something you need to give yourself grace. Like, it is going to be difficult, but that is part of the condition, is that it is kind of, you think things are going good, and then it's like, oh no, like that is part of it. And God, it can be like a lot of these mental issues, like these personality disorders, these like the ADHD, a lot of these things, I believe they can be used as superpowers. I mean, I'll go on a little bit of a tangent here, but this is the first piece of art that opened up my mind to the beauty of mental illness. Like nothing, no one's doomed on this earth. Like A Beautiful Mind. I saw that movie, and I mean, there's an example. It's schizophrenia, and that's freaking difficult. I mean, that is absolutely difficult. Something that's genetic, and that it's like, but that line between genius and insanity, that's a saying for a reason. And if you can create an environment where you have structure, and you're around safe people, and you can basically, you know, I feel like a lot of the stuff is like these personality disorders that are based around like essentially sensitivity, right? They're not the antisocial, they're not the very narcissistic, but they're kind of like an oversensitivity, and I think that's the way I look at that kind of stuff. Like, a neurodivergence is just I think it's a sensitivity, and that is like, that can be used for such good, like be used for such like inspiration and art and everything. So again, yeah, it's a very thin line between, we're overdiagnosed, like we're very conscious of our disorders nowadays, and I think it's a double-edged sword. It's a absolute double-edged sword to acknowledge something makes it real. And if you make something too real, it can cripple you. But it can also cripple you to not understand what is happening. And if you don't have people around you, which in civilized society and a society where people are going to work and worried about their own lives, it's often the case historically and still to this day that people are undiagnosed and they don't they're either coping with alcohol or substances or you know uh agoraphobia in their house all day, like they're it's so yeah. That's a little bit of a tangent, but yeah, so that's number five is just grace on the other end. It's circular grace. You want grace from the square one about your origin story and what happened to you, and then continual grace, right? When you backslide, not getting too down on yourself, getting hard on yourself, it just makes things worse. Like, so, you know, that's that. Five strategies for coping with BPD, and this is just off the cuff. I don't know where this came from, but I was diagnosed with it recently, and I'm in the camp where I don't necessarily think I was BPD 5 years ago. Don't think I had any of the symptoms. I had a few of them, but as of a year ago, I have every single symptom. So, and now maybe a little bit less. The mind and life isn't a stat, but if I had to guess, I'm, you know, 50% BPD, 50% remission, like right now at this moment. That sounds like almost like, yeah, it's like fucking it's overthinking, but yeah, not, anyway, so yeah, that's the hope, right? Is that, there's remission, there's no, remission is, that's not a good word. There is, I guess maybe remission. I don't know. That's cancer. The thing about cancer, but there is like healing and there is grace and like the symptoms can be minimized. That's the way I want to look at it. The symptoms can be minimized, and backsliding is part of the course, par for the course. Like giving yourself grace. Therapy, I think, is absolutely, yeah, talk therapy, and I guess I haven't done DBT, but apparently that's really helpful for BPD, dialectical behavioral. But yeah, that's that. And if you made it this far, I really appreciate um, you listening to what I have to say, and I'd be happy to listen to what you have to say in the comments if you want to talk further about BPD. If you've been diagnosed or know someone who's been diagnosed, you know, I'm on this continuous journey of life myself, and just wanted to share some thoughts with whoever wants to listen. And yeah, you're loved. You'll be okay. Just keep doing the work. Give yourself grace. That's the big one. And hang in there, guys. Have a good day.